My ex took my dog, TV. And Couch then posted online mocking me, so I got my dog back, built a business, and she's now begging for help. I'm a 30-year-old guy. And for a long time, I thought I'd finally found my person. Her name was Rachel, 28, radiant in that magnetic way where every room seemed to bend toward her energy. She had this contagious laugh, the kind that made you believe things could always be better. We met at a mutual friend's housewarming party, both reaching for the last slice of pizza, and it sounds cliché, but I swear, it felt like the universe decided to give me a break that night. Rachel loved dogs, rainy Sundays, and those deep, late-night talks about the future, where we'd live, what we'd name our kids, how we'd build a life together. I'd never been with someone who made me feel that seen. Within a year, we'd moved into a small apartment with peeling wallpaper and mismatched furniture. But we made it feel like home. We split bills, cooked together, even argued about which Netflix shows to binge next. It was messy. It was real. Then came Max, a golden retriever puppy with too much energy and the softest ears I'd ever touched. We called him our baby, Rachel used to say. He loves me more, you know? I'd laugh it off, watching Max curl up beside her. Back then, it just felt like a cute joke. I didn't realize it was a seed of something deeper, a competition. I never knew I'd entered. Evenings were my favorite, Rachel humming in the kitchen, Max chasing his tail, the faint smell of garlic and butter filling the air. I'd sit on the couch thinking, this is what peace feels like. But now looking back, I can't help but remember how easily peace can disguise dependency, and how fast love can turn into something unrecognizable. It started small. Tiny hairline fractures that didn't look dangerous at first. Rachel began staying up later, glued to her phone. She said she was just catching up with friends, but every time I glanced over, she'd tilt the screen away. I told myself not to be paranoid. Everyone needs space, right? Still, I couldn't ignore the way her laughter changed sharper, colder. Money became the next trigger. I was managing most of the bills since she'd quit her job to figure out her next move. At first I didn't mind. I believed in her. But soon, she was buying expensive makeup, ordering new clothes, and calling it self-care. When I brought it up, she rolled her eyes. You act like I'm some burden, Mark. Maybe if you made more. I wouldn't have to. That line stuck like glass in my chest. We started arguing over stupid things, laundry, groceries, whether I'd forgotten to walk Max. Every fight ended the same. Her storming off, slamming doors, posting cryptic quotes online about knowing your worth. I'd find them hours later, realizing she was talking about me. But the worst part wasn't the fight, was the silence after. The long stretches where she'd scroll on her phone while I tried to talk. I'd say, Rachel, what's wrong? And she'd sigh, you're so dramatic. Can't you just relax? At night, I'd lie in bed listening to Max's soft breathing at the foot of the bed and wonder when we'd started sleeping back to back. I kept telling myself this was just a rough patch. Couples go through these things, but something in my gut whispered a different truth. This wasn't tension, it was distance. And she was already halfway gone. It was a Friday afternoon. I got off work early because a client canceled last minute. I remember grabbing takeout from Rachel's favorite Thai place, thinking maybe a surprise dinner would ease the tension. When I opened the apartment door, the first thing I noticed was the silence. No Max running to greet me, no sound of Rachel humming, just emptiness. Then I saw the boxes, half-packed, half-scattered. Her clothes were gone. The TV was missing from the stand, and the couch, the one we'd spent nights laughing on, was gone too. My chest tightened as I called out, Rachel? She walked out from the bedroom, phone in hand, dressed like she was heading somewhere important. Oh, you're home early. Her tone was casual, almost bored. What's going on? I asked, voice shaking. She shrugged. I'm done pretending, Mark. I can't do this anymore. My throat went dry. What do you mean you can't? Where's Max? She looked me dead in the eye and said, he's with me. You're too busy for him anyway. I tried to step toward her, but she held up her hand. Don't make this harder. I'm taking what's mine. I stood there frozen as she walked out the door, TV remote in her pocket, Max's leash in her hand. I didn't even fight. I just stood in that hollow apartment surrounded by empty spaces where our life used to be. That night, I scrolled through Instagram, desperate for some clue of what had just happened. And there it was, a photo of her smiling, holding Max, captioned, "New beginnings," hundreds of likes. Comments like, "You deserve better." I just stared at the screen, realizing the woman I loved hadn't just left me. She'd erased me. The breakup didn't just hurt, it became entertainment. Within days, Rachel turned our story into her personal spotlight. She posted TikToks about toxic men who drain your energy with Max in the background, wearing the same collar I'd picked out. Her captions read like they were straight from a self-help influencer's playbook. "Healing is realizing what you deserve." But I knew every word was a jab aimed at me. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends sent screenshots. Coworkers whispered behind my back. One even texted, "Bro, she really posted your couch?" I opened the link, and there it was. My old couch, my dog, my life turned into a punchline. She'd filmed a transition video. One clip of our messy apartment with the caption, "Before letting go of dead weight," and another of her new setup. Same couch, same TV, new smile. It was like watching someone steal your life and make it look better without you. I wanted to call her. Scream, defend myself, but what could I say? Online, she was the brave woman who escaped a lazy, neglectful boyfriend, and me. I looked like the guy she warned her followers about at night. I'd scroll through her comments section, reading strangers' sympathy for her and their contempt for me. I'd close the app, stare at the blank wall where our TV used to hang, feel smaller than ever. Max was in her photos almost every day, happy, tail wagging. I told myself he was okay, even if I wasn't. But deep down, I knew she was using him, the one pure part of our relationship, to keep hurting me. And the worst part, it was working. After Rachel's social media circus, my life went painfully quiet. The apartment echoed with the sound of nothing. No laughter, no barking, no footsteps pacing between rooms. I couldn't even sit on the floor without picturing Max curling beside me. For weeks I lived off instant noodles and stale coffee, barely functioning. I'd wake up, go to work, come home, and collapse into bed. Every night felt like a loop of regret. I deleted my social accounts to escape her shadow. No more comments. No more pity. Just silence. The kind that forces you to face yourself. That's when I noticed the old chair by the window, the one we'd planned to throw away. Out of boredom, or maybe desperation, I decided to fix it. Sanded the wood, tightened the bolts, polished it until it looked almost new. For the first time in months, I felt okay, so I kept going. Picked up another broken chair from the dumpster behind a thrift store, then another. Slowly, my evenings became less about crying and more about creating. The scent of sawdust replaced the smell of takeout. The sound of a drill became my background music. My apartment started filling again, not with memories of her, but with things I built. It was messy, imperfect, but it was mine. I even listed a few restored pieces online, just to see what would happen. Within hours, someone messaged, offering to buy one that night. As I wrapped the chair in old newspaper, something shifted inside me. I realized I'd spent months trying to reclaim what she'd taken. The dog, the couch, the pride. But maybe I needed to rebuild something else first. Myself, that first sale did something to me. It wasn't about the money. It was about feeling useful again. I named the online page Second Life Designs. It sounded dramatic, but it fit. Every broken table or chair I restored felt like proof that things could be ruined and still come back stronger. I started spending my weekends scouring yard sales and junkyards, hunting for pieces everyone else had given up on. My hands were blistered. My apartment smelled like varnish, and sawdust coated everything I owned. But for the first time since Rachel left, I didn't mind the mess. It felt alive. One evening, my old landlord, Mr. Jenkins, stopped by. He was this gruff, no-nonsense guy in his 60s who'd seen me at my worst after the breakup. He looked around at the furniture stacked in my living room and said, "You're turning this place into a workshop. You need space." He tossed me the keys to a vacant storage unit behind the building. "Use it till someone rents it. No charge." Just don't burn it down. I stood there speechless. That night, I moved everything in the tools, the wood scraps, the half-finished pieces. Under the dim fluorescent lights, surrounded by the scent of fresh stain and old memories, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. Rachel's laughter and her online mockery had been replaced by the hum of my drill. Every scrape, every polish, every nail hammered into place became a quiet rebellion. I was no longer trying to prove her wrong. I was proving myself right. And as strange as it sounds, I started dreaming again. Not about her, not about revenge, but about what I could build next. It had been almost 7 months since Rachel walked out. I hadn't seen her, hadn't heard her voice, and honestly I thought I'd finally made peace with that. But life has a cruel sense of timing. One afternoon, I was delivering a refinished dresser to a new client across town. I parked outside this upscale apartment complex, the kind with glass balconies and manicured lawns. As I unloaded the piece, I heard a bark, sharp, familiar, and impossible to mistake. My heart froze. I turned and there he was. Max, my dog, my best friend. He looked bigger, healthier, but those eyes, they lit up the second he saw me. His tail started wagging like crazy. He tried to bolt toward me, but a man's voice called out, "Hey, Max, come here, buddy." I stared at him, tall guy, maybe early 30s, wearing gym clothes and a friendly smile. "Sorry, man," he said. "He's friendly. He must recognize you." I swallowed hard. "Yeah," I said quietly. "He used to be mine." The guy laughed awkwardly. "Oh wow, really?" "Rachel told me she rescued him from some jerk who abandoned her. Guess that's not the full story, huh?" That sentence hit harder than any insult she'd ever thrown. Rescued him? From me? I didn't correct him. I just nodded, forced a polite smile, and watched Max get led away, his head turning back toward me until they disappeared around the corner. When I got home that night, I sat in my workshop staring at an unfinished table, hands trembling, heart pounding. I realized Rachel hadn't just stolen my things. She'd rewritten the story, turned herself into the victim and me into the villain. And I knew then I couldn't stay silent anymore that night. I pulled out the old adoption folder from the drawer where I'd buried it months ago. Max's papers, the receipts, the vet records, all of it had my name on them. I'd been too numb to care before. Now my hands shook with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Resolve. I wasn't going to fight her with anger or public posts. I'd seen how she thrived on attention, how every argument became content for her. No, this time, I'd win quietly. I booked an appointment with a local attorney the next morning. She was calm, professional, and after a few minutes of looking through my paperwork, she said the words I'd been desperate to hear. "Legally, Max is yours. This won't be hard to prove." For the first time in months, I smiled. A real one. Meanwhile, Rachel was still posting photos of her happy life, inspirational reels about healing, even a video where she called Max her emotional support angel. The irony made me sick. I stopped blocking her. I needed every post, every timestamp, every bit of evidence showing she had my dog. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. Over the next few weeks, I quietly built my case. I kept restoring furniture by day, gathering proof by night. My business grew. More orders, more messages. People loving the story behind the brand. What they didn't know was that every piece I built carried a little piece of my determination to take back what mattered. One evening, while finishing a table, I whispered, "Hang on. Max, I'm coming." It wasn't anger driving me anymore. It was something deeper. The need to reclaim. The one piece of love that hadn't lied to me. I thought I was ready for whatever came next, but I underestimated how far Rachel would go when she realized I wasn't staying. Silent. The moment she got the legal notice, the social media storm reignited. Her followers were instantly fed new drama, screenshots taken out of context, long captions about toxic exes who can't move on, and fake stories of me harassing her for attention. Within hours, My business page was flooded with hateful comments. People I didn't even know were calling me a dog thief. It felt like déjà vu, the humiliation all over again. Orders got canceled. A local blogger even made a video defending her, painting me as some bitter ex trying to weaponize the legal system. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. One night, sitting alone in my workshop, I just broke. My tools lay scattered, sawdust covering the floor like snow. I stared at a photo of Max on my phone, his goofy puppy grin, and whispered, maybe she really did win. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from an old mutual friend, Dana, she wrote. You need to see this. Attached were screenshots, Rachel bragging in a private group chat about how she took everything just to see him cry. It's her exact words. She even admitted the dog wasn't hers. I just sat there, numb. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I finally saw her for what she was. A performance. A walking lie dressed as empowerment. For months, I'd been chasing peace. But peace wasn't something to find, it was something to protect. And now, I had everything I needed to protect mine. The court hearing was short, almost anticlimactic. I sat on one side of the small room, hands clenched around Max's paperwork, while Rachel scrolled on her phone like none of it mattered. When the judge asked about ownership, she started spinning the same emotional narrative. He abandoned us. He's unstable. I had to save Max. But this time, the evidence didn't bend in her favor. My lawyer presented the adoption papers, vet bills, and the dagger printed screenshots of her own posts calling Max our baby. The judge's expression shifted from polite patience to quiet irritation. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't rant. I just said, I'm not here to hurt her. I just want my dog back. He's my family. The silence that followed was heavy. Then the judge nodded. Ownership is clear. The dog is yours, Mr. Hayes. Case closed. Rachel's mouth fell open. She tried to argue, her voice rising, but the gavel hit the desk. That's final. A week later, I walked into the animal care center, where she'd been ordered to surrender Max. The second he saw me, he ran full speed across the floor, barking, whining, tail wagging so hard it looked painful. I dropped to my knees and held him, burying my face in his fur. I don't remember crying, but my shirt was soaked when we left. Outside, the air felt different. The noise, the bitterness, the humiliation, all of it faded in that single moment. Rachel had taken my comfort, my home, my pride. But standing there with Max's leash in my hand again, I realized she'd never taken the part of me that mattered most, the one that refused to give up. Bringing Max home felt like closing a chapter. I'd been trapped in for far too long. He trotted through the apartment, sniffing every corner like he was reclaiming it too. I set his old bed beside my workbench in the studio, and he curled up instantly, sighing like he finally understood this was home again. My business. Second Life Designs kept growing quietly in the background. Maybe people sensed the story behind the furniture, that every piece had survived something just like me. Orders started piling in, and one of my time-lapse videos of a chair restoration went viral. Comments poured in. This guy turns pain into art. You can feel the healing in his work. And in the middle of all that positivity came a message I didn't expect, Rachel. Her tone wasn't smug this time. Just desperate. Hey, I know things got messy. I could really use someone to talk to. I'm struggling. I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to say something cruel, to remind her of what she'd done. But instead, I just took a deep breath, locked my phone, and got back to work. I filmed another video, sanding down an old table, Max sleeping in the background. The caption read, "Not everything broken needs fixing. Some things just need leaving behind." That clip hit harder than anything I'd ever posted. People resonated with it, not because it was polished, but because it was real. I didn't need revenge anymore. My success, my peace, and the loyal dog snoring beside me said everything I couldn't. And for the first time since she left, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. Months later, I found myself walking Max through the same downtown street where Rachel once filmed those mocking videos. The city lights flickered off the wet pavement, and Max's leash jingled softly beside me. For a moment, the memory of her laughter, her captions, the humiliation tried to crawl back, but it didn't sting anymore. It just existed, like a scar that no longer hurt when touched. Business was thriving. I'd hired 2 helpers, expanded into a small warehouse, and started mentoring young artisans who'd gone through rough patches of their own. Each piece we restored carried a story, not of loss, but of resilience. And every time I looked at Max sprawled out on the shop floor, surrounded by half-finished tables and soft jazz playing in the background, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Wholeness. Sometimes I'd get messages from people who said my videos helped them get through breakups, layoffs, depression. They'd write things like, "Your story gave me hope that peace exists after chaos." And that's when I realized this wasn't just my healing anymore. It had become a bridge for others. One night, while closing up the shop, I looked at Max and whispered, "She thought she took everything, buddy." He wagged his tail. But all she did was clear space for something better. We stepped outside, cool air, faint hum of the city, the smell of rain. I didn't look back. There was nothing left to miss. Rachel's name doesn't hold anger anymore. Just a lesson. Love without empathy isn't love. And losing everything? Sometimes that's exactly what you need to find yourself again. Max nudged my hand. Tail wagging, and we kept walking to Survivors, finally at peace.